let's talk about objects. So it's very important very early on to grasp the concepts behind objects, to be able to visualize and get an intuition or feel of what we are talking about. I think if you can get the conceptual understanding down, everything else will be easy. And this doesn't just apply to JavaScript, but to other programming languages that are object-oriented, like Python, Java, C++. So what are objects? So basically, we're going to be using this programming language to model real-world items, right? So this is like a programmatic model of an item that is from the real world. Well, not always from the real world, but that's the intuition. So objects are a form of data structure, so they have a collection of data, right? And this data can be categorized into two broad categories, namely properties and methods. So a property is basically a fact about an object, right? So it's describing aspects about an object. These are like nouns. For example, if I have a person, let's just say I have a dog, for example, and I can name that dog Rover. That's the name. So that's a property. The breed, which it belongs to, that's another property. Its age would be another property. What color it is, that's another property. What weight it is, that's another property. So these are just nouns that are describing aspects of the object with their facts about the objects. Remember that. Now, when we talk about methods, these are like what the object can do. These are like verbs, right? So a dog, for example, can bark, it can eat, it can fetch, it can run. Right? It can perform various different types of tricks. It can roll over, for example. That's what a method is. And methods are basically functions within the object structure. Properties are basically like variables within the object structure. So your variable could be a true or false. It could be a number, a decimal, right? It could be a string. So let's just model a few objects here. I'm going to start off with a very basic one. Start off with a car object. So I'm just going to go const car. I could also just say let car, but we've been using let a lot. So let's go let. So we're going to model this car object. And here you have to use the open and close curly braces to denote the object. And then we can just close the statement here using a semicolon. And now we can specify some properties. For example, a car might have a make, right? Let's just say it's BMW or something. And this is how we sort of declare the properties. These are called key value pairs. So we got the key, which is the name, make, and then we have the value, which is the string here in this particular case, which is BMW. And we separate these properties using this comma. So let's add another property now. So comma, we add another property, and we go model. For example, I don't know, let's just say S series or something. I have no idea about BMWs, but let's just make an example here. Then let's just say we add another property. So what color is it? Say, for example, it's black, right? And how much does it weigh? Let's just say it weighs a ton. So we could just say weight here, 1, right? Or 1,000, for example. And I'm just going to say that this is its weight. And then let's just add a few basic what's called methods. Now we looked at properties, and these are what? Your nouns. But let's look at the functions that it can perform. So let's just say it can start, for example, start. And then I said this is a function, so the value must be a function for methods, right? So function like that. We don't have to specify the name like we did in previous videos. We just go function like that, and then open, close. And then we could say return vroom or something. So it returns the string, this function, right? And then I could just say, let's just say hoot, right? And I could just say function here. And I could return, say, beep or something. Beep, right? We're just returning a string here called beep. And now, actually, we have to always, whenever we have declared our key value pair, we want to add another one, we should always put a comma like that. So there we go. Now we have our object. Say we wanted to access different properties from this object. So let me just say I wanted to display the color of the object. I just console.log here like this, and I say the color of the car is, and then here I could just go, well, first of all, what did we call it? We called it car. So let car equals, it should be equals rather, equals like that, right? So we're using the assignment operator here. The color of the car is, and then we go car.color, right? Like this. So car.color, and if I go up here and look at this property for color, so we go car, object name, then we say dot to access its color, car.color. If I want to access its model, car.model. I want to access its weight, car.weight, so forth and so on. So if I did not make any syntactical errors, this should work. So first of all, let me just open the console here. So I go developer tools, and then I just open the console, save and refresh. See that the color of the car is black. So car.color. And I could also access another property for good measure. Let's just say I want to access the weight. So I could just say the car weighs, and then I could just say car.weight. Then I could just say open here, and I could just say, let's just say it's kilograms, for example. And if I do not make a syntactical error, see, so the color of the car is car.color, which is black, and the car weighs about 1,000 kilograms. Now, what about the methods? Now, here's the peculiar thing about the methods. Okay, let me just say console.log. And the way to access a method is you must have two braces. So here we don't have any braces for the car. Let me just show you what I mean. So I'm just going to say car dot, let's just say hoot, open bracket, close bracket, like that. We have to have these two parentheses whenever we're calling a method. And some methods might have parameters or arguments. So we argue within parameters, so arguments might be placed here. But for now, we're just doing parameters. I'll show you how we do this in the next lecture. So let's just do this. There we go. So car.hoot, and hoot is returning what? It's returning a string beep here. And for good practice, to put a semicolon. Okay. So that's how it works. So to access the properties or the nouns of an object, we just go like this, the car.color. To access the functions or the method of the object, we have to use these two parentheses. And in some cases, we might have some arguments here that are passed into the function or the method, right? So this is very similar to what we did with arrays, right? We say array.indexOf, for example, if you recall, in our previous lecture, index of some value, right? So we just noticed that the array is actually in itself an object, and it has this function or this method here, right, that allows us to find the value of a certain index, the index of a value within the actual array contents. So that's how objects work, very intuitively. Perhaps in the next lecture we'll look at more incredible things that we can do with objects. So thank you very much.